You know, I spend a lot of time arguing with people why I won't review Team Fortress 2 when I've looked at games like Brick Force and World of Tanks. Okay, so both games are lobby-based arena shooters, but they have something TF2 doesn't have. Player progression. You need to earn the classes you unlock, the weapons you acquire, and the higher level matches you end up in, and the general perks that help you improve as a player. Hats don't count! So yes, today I'll be looking at another arena shooter MMO that will inevitably get people to start telling me to review Team Fortress 2 again, for God knows what reason. This time one based off of a formerly troubled PC franchise. This is the MMO Grinder, and it's time to look at Tribes Ascend. Published and developed by hi-rez Studios, Tribes Ascend is a futuristic first-person arena shooter, and is the latest installment in the Tribes series, a PC shooter well known for its jetpack mechanic and intense gameplay. The history of the Tribes series goes way back to a MechWarrior-inspired game called MetalTech Earthsiege, which later spawned the sequel, simply called Earthsiege 2. Oh my god, I actually had that when it was new! Earthsiege 2 begat Starsiege, which in turn spawned the first Tribes game, Starsiege Tribes. Then, taking tradition from the first game in the series, they dropped the colon and named the sequel the subtitle and added a 2, with the most popular of the series, Tribes 2. There were other games and spin-offs since, but licensing led the game into the hands of hi-rez, who scrapped the idea of an open-world Tribes MMO and created the game that we're looking at today. Of course, I don't think that many people really care about this game's history or its inevitable sequel, Ascend 2, so let's get going. Tribes Ascend uses the Unreal Engine, so expect a lot of explosions and people flying about. Tribes Ascend has this in spades. The game is very bright and colorful for a shooter, taking full advantage of the futuristic space setting with many environments and settings to battle upon. They can be a bit fickle though, and I've had a couple issues with textures not loading or the crosshair causing this odd flickering effect. It's not detrimental to the gameplay and resolves itself pretty quickly, but I highly suggest that you not Alt-Tab out of the game during a match, as that causes a lot of those issues. Overall, it's a nice aesthetic. While not exactly a new concept, I love the digital readout on each weapon that shows your remaining ammo, as opposed to an on-screen number, and the package comes together quite nicely. If you can run it on high settings, do so. It looks amazing. The game's music really backs up its intensity, being a grinding techno beat laced with a lot of guitar riffs. There's even a really intense track that starts playing when you've captured the enemy flag, which serves as an excellent notification that you were successful in grabbing the flag, and a warning that everyone now wants you dead. A lot of the time, the music might go unnoticed by many players, as the sounds take a very prominent role. You'll hear many an explosion, gunshot, and even the signature weapon of the spin fuser makes an unmistakable sound when fired, and more often than not, it'll be what you hear most often on the battlefield. There's a lot of voice work in this game, much of it due to the VGS system, which I'll get into later, and the announcers for each tribe. In fact, some voice acting vets are at the helm here, with the Diamond Sword announcer being voiced by Monica Rial, and the Blood Eagle announcer being voiced by Christopher Sabat, most well known for his role as Vegeta and Piccolo in the English dub of Dragon Ball Z. There's a lot of interesting things to hear, but you may want to adjust the volume so what you want to hear is the most noticeable. This game is available from Steam, which is where I downloaded it from, but you can also get it from tribesascend.com. You'll get pretty much tossed right into the game. If you're looking for a tutorial, there really isn't one. Sure, there's an option called tutorial, but it only has a few options. The first option that it'll point you to is the closest thing that you can expect from an actual tutorial, which is the skiing tutorial. This game, like standard for the Tribe series, has a mechanic known as skiing, where your armor can use its jets to become frictionless and hover along the ground. This is key to moving around in this game, as you use this mechanic to slide down hills and then use your jetpack to ascend the hills faster without losing much momentum. It takes a bit of practice. If you actually want to shoot something, you can enter a bot practice map, and that's filled with enemies that won't actually attack you. This is best used to get a feel for how to deal with enemy types, movement patterns, and most importantly, how to use your class. You can choose any class, even if you haven't unlocked them, and mess around with their weapons and playstyles. There are 3 class groups, light, medium, and heavy, with light classes being speedy pathfinders, sniping sentinels, or stealthy infiltrators. Mediums being a balance of speed, defense, and power, not particularly specializing in any of them, and heavies being slow but hard to kill walking tanks with heavy firepower, like the explosive-wielding juggernauts, the weapons expert brutes, and the vehicle and tower-destroying doombringers. You get your choice of the Pathfinder, Soldier, or Juggernaut for free, so you can get a feel for each of the differing armor types. You may also switch out your class mid-match if you so desire. Default controls are as follows. WASD moves, move the mouse to aim, left-click to fire your weapon, and hold the right mouse button to fire your jetpack. Use E to use your melee attack. Hold down the spacebar to use the ski mechanic. Press F to use your belt item, which is usually a grenade, and press C to use your class item provided you have one. Like if you're playing a technician, you can press C to place your turrets. Hold Shift and you can zoom in your view to better shoot enemies that are far away. You have two types of weapons, primary and secondary. You can use the mouse wheel to scroll between them at any time. Each class has a different primary and secondary weapon, each made for a specific task, with common weapon types being machine guns, grenade launchers, shotguns, or the tribe staple of the spin fuser, a rocket launcher type weapon that fires long-range explosive frisbees. I knew this thing seemed familiar, except these don't explode. Yet. Even your grenades have differing types, like your standard explosive grenades, sticky grenades that cause major damage to structures like turrets, and fractal grenades that fire lasers in all directions. When using explosive weaponry, it's possible to damage yourself, but your teammates are usually unaffected, so feel free to fire your spin fuser into a tightly grouped fight, as it won't affect your teammates. Health is gathered automatically in this game, usually if you've gone unattacked for a certain period of time. I say usually because if you happen to be in possession of the flag, you won't regain health as long as you're holding on to it. Luckily, you can drop it with Z, letting you effectively pass it off to another player. Your ammo is limited, so getting ammo pickups is vital to staying an effective attacker. Killing an enemy player will drop a small bit of ammo, and you can easily replenish it by finding any of the inventory stations that are scattered around the map. The downside to those stations being that you're rooted in place for a few seconds while using them, and it sets you up for being shot at by snipers or spin fuser attacks. With kills and fulfilling certain tasks in the game, you earn credits which you can spend to summon inventory stations, or even call down orbital and tactical strikes, best used for when the enemy seems fond of grouping up in one spot. Supply drops only cost 2,000 credits, but tactical strikes cost 4,000 a pop, so make sure you're going to hit someone, or at least ruin their plans. Credits can also be spent upgrading structures in certain game modes, or in Capture the Flag modes to purchase vehicles. There are 3 vehicles in the game right now, the cheapest being the Grav Cycle, which allows you to move quickly along the map, even as a heavy armor class, the Shrike, an air assault vehicle, and the Beowulf, a tank-like vehicle with a gunner's seat. Proper use of these vehicles can give you a serious edge in Capture the Flag modes, but a lot of the time I notice they'll go completely unused in a match. Character improvements are gained in a few ways. First is rank, which scales with your experience gained by playing matches. This is used primarily for matchmaking, and as a gauge for knowing just how far an opponent has progressed into the game. Your weapons also gain experience, usually gaining more ammunition, a passive ability, or a larger clip size. You don't need to use the weapons in combat to gain experience, just have them equipped during that match. The same goes for your armor frames and other upgrades. You'll also earn a second type of experience to buy new characters and upgrades, but I'll get into that when I cover Cash Shop. You can also earn accolades in the match, which will help you increase the amount of overall experience you gain, which acts sort of like achievements. For example, this could be as simple as destroying an enemy player that attempts to take your flag, killing more than one enemy in rapid succession, or even hitting an enemy with a direct shot from your spin fuser, which is referred to as a blue plate special. Your accolades and rank, depending on how you performed in the match, will be tallied at the end and shown on a massive leaderboard. You might be wondering why I only explained the mechanics of the game rather than covering any of the game types. Well, that's because this game is only multiplayer, and I'll be covering most of this stuff in community, among other things. This game is entirely team-based, and you're stuck choosing between 2 factions, both from the Tribe games. The Ruthless Blood Eagle Tribe and the Calculating Diamond Sword Tribe. As far as this game is concerned, though, it just depends on whether you want to wear red armor or white armor. There are a few game modes in this game, the first and quickest being Team Deathmatch. In this mode, you blow up everyone that doesn't look like you. Whenever at least one person has been killed, a flag spawns on top of their corpse. Whichever team is holding the flag gets 2 points for every 1 player they kill, making control of the flag fairly important. Oftentimes, the fastest player on the team will take the flag and just do very quick laps around the edge of the map, while the rest try to hunt them down. These games go pretty quickly and are very intense. Intensity is the key word in this game, really. This is some of the most blindingly fast combat I've dealt with in any shooter, and it'll take a little while to wrap your head around it. But you get used to it. Trust me. The much longer and much more complex mode is Capture the Flag. Yes, while the basic mechanic of Capture the Flag remains the same, in that you head to the enemy base, take their flag, return to yours, and capture it if only your team's flag is safely at its base, there's a few more gimmicks to keep things interesting. First off, your base is guarded by a few turrets, a radar sensor, and some inventory stations, all powered by a generator that's inside the base. Enemy players have a chance to destroy the turrets or radar towers, but they can also head inside your base to destroy the generator, disabling all the defenses and supply stations at once. You can repair these stations either as a technician or by grabbing a nearby repair gun and using them on the structures to bring them back online. You can also use your earned credits to make them much more resilient to attacks. These are the only 2 modes available to you in the beginning, so expect to play them for a while. Once you reach level 7, you'll gain 3 new modes. Capture the Flag Blitz, which spawns the flag in a new point after each capture, Capture and Hold, which just consists of holding points on a map, and Arena, a smaller 5v5 version of Deathmatch. There's also the option to set up private servers, which can still gain you rank experience, but no points for unlocks. Custom servers have one game type that's currently not available in the regular game, Rabbit. A mode also from Tribes where a player grabs a flag and becomes it, while the remaining players hunt them down. Whichever player holds the flag the longest wins the match. Hi-rez realized something in FPS games that many people seem to neglect. It's really hard to type what you want people to do when you're constantly being shot at. Luckily, Hi-rez came up with an ingenious system known as VGS, or Voice Game System. Instead of typing out sentences like, attack the enemy base, or defend our flag, you simply type VAB, or VDF. Not only will the message appear on screen, but it'll also be transmitted with a voiced clip. You'll find most people using it quite a bit, even if a lot of the time it's used to spam at the end of the matches, but it'll take a while to memorize what commands say what phrase. You can see the menu of commands simply by hitting V first and then choose the letter that says what you want it to say. If you'd still just rather call everyone homophobic slurs every time you die, you can talk to your team by hitting Y and typing normally, or to everyone on the map by hitting T first. Another thing Hi-rez is very intuitive with is keeping the community part of the game. The best example would be the tutorial videos, which are actually submitted by players of the game and directly linked to their YouTube videos. If you think you have the perfect tips for playing a Sentinel, perhaps a video you make and submit will be part of the game itself. It's pretty neat, really. As for the people themselves, well, this is one of the less horrid first-person shooters on the market as far as this community is concerned. This is probably most likely due to the VGS system, but there's still no lack of people being mouthy jerks in-game. They'd probably be better off playing the game than complaining about how much everyone on their team sucks, but this is part and parcel of the genre, it seems. Most often people complain about certain classes or weapons being overpowered, and my first match was met with a losing team accusing the opposing team of hacking. Granted, when I've come across players who've taken no damage from my direct spin fuser shots, I can't help but wonder if something fishy is going on myself. One final thing of note, you might have noticed I was showing off my scores in these matches. Well, let's just say that once you reach level 6, the game stops grouping you with new players and your opponents are suddenly no longer pushovers. So you might be top dog for a while, but sooner or later prepare to have to work for that top slot again. This game's cash shop currency is simply called gold, which can't be bought in increments less than 800 gold for $10. Luckily, even that small amount can go pretty far. The most expensive class costs less than 200 gold. It's when you start looking at weapons and armor systems that things get kinda pricey, but even then 800 gold is enough for at least a few purchases. Keep an eye out for some of the daily sales, it'll greatly discount some of these items. If you don't want to pay, you can earn nearly every item with the XP points earned in-game. It takes a lot longer to unlock weapons and classes this way, but it can be done. If you're worried about unlocking a class in this manner, remember you can try it out in the bot training mode before you commit to a purchase of it. Another way to gain yourself some golden points in this game is through the referral system, where you can earn rewards by referring friends, and if they reach level 6, you gain some favor. It's a system very similar to League of Legends. So yeah, if you're interested in playing this game, go ahead and click the link I've provided for you right down below the video. You know, purely for your convenience and everything. Want to nab a quick 250 gold for borderline nothing? You can simply like the game on Facebook to receive a code and nab 250 gold. Just enter the code in the store and bam! Don't say I never did anything for you. Is it just me, or do I seem to be in an FPS mood lately? Yeah, while I chose this game for the sake of simplicity and doing things a bit differently, I found myself greatly addicted to it, and it's a great game to just hop into and play. The action takes a little bit to adjust to, but once I got used to the mechanics, the game felt really natural and a lot of fun to play. Here's my final rating. This is a very fast-paced game that requires you to think on your feet, and very quickly adapt to constant changes. There's a lot of quick and simple fun that's easy to drop in and out of without requiring any real dedication. The game is quite flashy and stylish, too. It's a lot of fun to look at, as well as it is to play. Drop some cash on this game if you value your time over your money. Even a small investment can get you a decent amount of content unlocked. There are a lot of things to unlock, so feel free to see what's available. Remember to keep an eye out for sales in the shop, just in case that item you really want shows up. Also, remember the referral program if you want some rewards just for getting people to play. If you're coming from certain FPS games like Halo or Call of Duty, you might find the action way too chaotic to keep up with. Especially if the concept of leading your shots is completely foreign to you, or you're baffled by a game that doesn't have a headshot mechanic. If you aren't an FPS fan, this game might not be for you anyway, as I don't expect this would convert anyone to the genre. Also, if you prefer your FPS combat in less open quarters, this game is crawling with massive maps. If you prefer to keep your gunplay indoors, look elsewhere. Next time, I'll be doing 2 special episodes that won't be numbered episodes. I have my reason. This October's gonna be a pretty busy month for me as I'm working seasonally at a local haunted house, but I think you'll like what's coming. We will make the sworders pay for their treachery! It's gonna take me all week to find that thing. So yes, today I'll be looking at another arena shooter MMO that will inevitably get people to start asking me to review Team Fortress... Review! Why do I keep saying review? No, this take is over. We're doing it again. It's done.